once again. We're going to move straight through, ladies and gents. Our next session is Play to Win, the sure approach to sports partnerships. And it's a great pleasure to welcome to the stage Heath, who is the Global Brand Director of Unilever. a round of applause, please. Come on up. And can I invite everyone just to take a seat once again, and we will get straight into it. Are you warm enough, first of all?
Yeah.
Perfect. You could actually be sponsoring today, I think. Many people will be very grateful for your support, I think.
Sure should have sponsored the whole week, to be honest
Should have
with you.
sponsored the week and the summer.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gents, once again, do tuck into the app. If you've got questions, shh. Thank you very much indeed. So, we're going to get into the sure approach to sport. That's sort of a bold headline. Do you want to put a bit of context on that for us from the start?
Yeah, and I think, so obviously I'm not going to say everything that's right. I think it's just more sharing our journey, our experience. But Rexona is the global brand name, by the way, so if I accidentally say Rexona, please just forgive me. It's called Sure in the UK. We've been in sport for absolutely decades. Like we're over 100 years old, and sport's been at the heart of the brand ever since then. But we've had a really consistent sports program for over 10 years now, and therefore I'd like to think maybe we know what we're doing. We're still learning. Think some things go wrong. I'm dealing with bombs even this morning.
Can you share any of those or not? Is that classified?
Well, the Gold Cup was interesting last night. That's all I'll say.
Right, okay.
It's more that you're just sort of having to constantly pivot and react. Like sport is so unpredictable in some ways, and you've just got to be so ready to react. But I think the way that we see sport is such an incredible opportunity. Like there aren't many things that can make grown men cry, let's be honest. And sport is just such an incredible vehicle to connect with people in such a deeply emotional way. Like fandom surrounds sport, and fandom's really interesting. You know, we talk about consumers, we talk about shoppers a lot when it comes to the marketing and advertising world, but fandom is completely different. It's highly emotional, it's highly engaging, it's passionate, and as I say, it's where you can make people cry. And so for us, sport is just an incredible opportunity. It's something where we can be so playful, so experimental, like really push ourselves to go beyond where we have and really bring a sense of entertainment and experience to the whole thing. So for us, sport is just so exciting.
And what's very interesting about that is when you talk about sport and you talk about grown men crying, as a brand, you are stepping into a space where a lot of people feel very passionately about the subject matter. From a personal experience, if any of you have been following the British and Irish Lions, the main sponsor of the Lions is Howden, and they have spoken a lot about earning their place on the shirt. And I think what that means is they don't want to just come in and stick a badge on and expect that to work. From your perspective, how do you step into a space with credibility and earning trust relative to just sticking a sticker on something and saying, great, we're now in sport?
So, yeah, it's really important. Sport is very saturated. You know, if you're partnering with anyone from the likes of FIFA, UEFA, or even any of the Premier League clubs, you're competing with direct other sponsors of, you know, I think FIFA's got like 30, 40, 50 sponsors. Then you've got brands that want to hijack those moments as well. So if you're literally just going to stick your badge there and walk away, it's just an absolute waste of money. I think there's a role for every single brand when it comes to sports, not just typical sports brands, but you've got to find your unique conversation to have. You've got to work out why on earth you're there, how you bring something valuable to sports, and how it aligns with your brand. So say for us, in the world of deodorants, we are the elite. Like we are the best performing deodorant, we're the #1 in the world. We position ourselves against the likes of FIFA, UEFA, Manchester City and Chelsea because they're the best in the world. They're the elite. So if we position ourselves with them, we hope that association will come back to us. In addition, if our products are being tested against the elite, like the extreme high pressure moments, then they're going to work for everyday moments as well. So we bring those dualities together. Our whole brand has been saying a promise for years of it won't let you down. We've been saying that for about 7 decades now. When we take that into the sporting arena, whether that's football, rugby, cricket, dance, we managed to create this duality between what you see happening on the pitch, on the court, between what we then offer as a brand. So, for example, when it was Women's World Cup in 2023, our campaign line was, "It's just warming up." And it was all about the fact that women and women's sport was really just warming up and really getting the attention it finally deserved. And with that, our role in sport as well. when it came to Copa America and the Men's Europeans last year, our whole conversation was bring the heat. It was about how the fans and the players are really bringing the intensity, the athleticism, the passion to the game. And then the response was, we bring the protection. So you bring something, we bring something. And where we are this year with the Euros, with the Women's Euros, is we're really celebrating our line, it won't let you down. And we're sort of putting out saying that women's sport and the female players, they won't let you down. And at the same time, we don't let you down because we give you really good products. So we try to create this duality narrative between what you see happening within the sport and then what we can offer as a brand.
It's very interesting because so you talk about, sure, Rexona being elite, meeting elite sport. How conscious are you of the tone of your messaging in the way that you activate? Does elite meet elite? Is that getting the cut through with the people you want? Have you tried more challenger styles of messaging? I'm just interested as to how you get your message across once you've made that connection.
Yeah, and it's not elite as in the upper classes.
No,
I think
but
when
the best of the best.
Yeah, we're a deodorant. We cost £2.50. It's about the fact that our products are fundamentally the best. I mean, it's proven. So what we're trying to say is that these players are the best, and we are the best that you can get in terms of us. So we're not trying to be inaccessible. We're just trying to bring that same association back to us. We have a really confident narrative, a really assertive narrative. We try not to be arrogant. You can tell me otherwise. But it's really just about, if you're someone that wants to get into cycling, you're probably going to go and spend £3,000-4,000 on a Rafa bike. If you want a really good deodorant, spend £2.50 and boots on us. And that's essentially what we're trying to do here.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you position yourself in different markets as well? Do you have to alter what you're saying depending on where you are globally, geographically?
Yes and no. So we try to keep that campaign line exactly the same where you are. But what you might see is the way it comes to life is slightly different. So I think the Women's Euros this year is a really good example. We've got 5 different ambassadors when it comes to the Women's Euros. And for 3 of those ones, we've brought to life a different it won't let you down narrative. So with Lucy Bronze, who's our England ambassador and probably my biggest female crush, she is the ultimate defender. She is there to kind of protect the game and ensure that nothing goes wrong. And so with her story, we're sort of bringing to life the idea of defence, the dependability, and how that then comes back to us and brand. We've then got Julia Gwynn in Germany, and it's a bit different in Germany. There's a lot of expectation. There's been a lot of negative narrative surrounding both national teams, the male and the female. So the way we're bringing her to life is sort of showing her resilience and how she's kind of pushing through those negative thoughts and how she's kind of really stepping onto the stage, especially as the captain, to sort of prove people wrong. Then we go to the Netherlands and we've got Vivian Miedema, who's she's both our Dutch ambassador, but she's also our Manchester City ambassador. She's just come back from a serious injury. So her story is all about how she's coming back, she's fighting, she's not going to let her team down. So the title is the same of It Won't Let You Down or They Won't Let You Down. But we need to tweak it to make sure it feels like it's really relevant to who is our protagonist and how that means something in the different markets. Because sport it's so global, but it's also so local that you need to ensure that you're really tapping into the local culture.
And if you are doing that, does that mean that you tweak your messaging potentially and the way that you portray your ambassadors? But do you have to operate in different channels and sectors? Do you go bigger in social media in the UK? Bigger I don't know whether it's sort of in-person activations in Germany type thing. Are you constantly flexing how you're putting your message out there?
Yeah, definitely. I think, when it comes to sport, the media ecosystem is vast and it's never ending. And I think actually when it comes to sport, you've got to be pretty much everywhere and anywhere. It's no longer just about broadcast. If you're watching a live match, you're watching the match, and then when it's in the half times, you're stepping away from the TV. So if we only focus all our attention on broadcast, we're missing most people. So the likes of social first is really important, but then that fan experience is equally as important, whether that's in the pub, at home, at a fan festival, in the stadium, on the journey to the stadium, how you can be intercepting them with social media or experiences. It's never ending. You've really got to put yourself into the mindset of a fan and kind of almost walk their life as a fan to work out how the hell you intercept them. But it's not one size fits all. Like, you know, there are some markets in the world where social media is still developing, so therefore you've got to pivot. And then there's other markets where it's almost so developed that TV is just not even doesn't really exist anymore.
Okay. We always love a buzzword on days like this, and we were talking with Max and Addy and Margaret a bit earlier on about authenticity in ambassador roles when they collaborate with brands. How big is the golden commodity of trust for you? How do you measure that? How do you know if what you are doing is delivering trust between you and the people that buy you?
Unilever has various different ways of measuring that, but I think the ultimate one is, firstly, how associated we become with those tournaments or the properties that we're working with. It's not necessarily a trust thing, but it's more understanding, like, are they seeing you? Are they recalling you? Are you getting into their, like, mental availability? But if you can also get that feedback for them to understand that with you being there, you give them something fundamentally better in their experience, then that is really what we're aiming for. Like, we want them to think that if we hadn't shown up, they would have missed out on something. So that's really what's important. Sales is obviously really important in all of this, and we can, you know, measure if we've managed to, like, get more consumers to be loyal than they were before. But ultimately, we're really there to drive better engagement of our brand with those fans.
You don't need me to tell you that women's sport has exploded in the last 10 to 15 years, and the curve is actually getting steeper. It's picking up even faster. With that comes the accusation of some brands that they are latching on, coattailing, catching up. That isn't the case with you, but how do you make sure that you are at the front of the conversation, you are driving the change, as opposed to being potentially accused of just sort of opportunism in the space?
I mean, I would probably say to any brand that hasn't yet come to women's sport, come. Like, I don't think it's opportunistic. There's not enough there yet. Like, it's nowhere near the level of what men's sport has in terms of investment, you know, broadcast and all of that. I think it's definitely growing. The men's game is growing too, so the gap is staying as it is. I would say that there's room for so many people to come and bring value to women's sport. And so do it. Don't hesitate. Don't be worried that you're going to get judged. I think just with any sport, whether it's male, whether it's female, whether it's sport for different people of different abilities, it's really about ensuring that you can bring a point of difference and that you can have a really authentic conversation. I don't think it's necessarily about worrying who is technically playing. But women's sport is so exciting. It's different audiences, it's different conversations, it's a different media landscape as well. So I think it's really exciting. We're putting a lot of focus and attention there. We're not taking any focus or attention away from the male sport, though, because we really realise that that is really vital for our business to succeed.
Do you see that, actually? Do you not necessarily that they're drifting apart, but that the women's side of sport is very much forming its own identity?
Definitely, and it's just fundamentally different. You know, firstly, the way women play sport is different. It's not worse, it's not better, it's just different. But the way, if you were to go to, say, a female football match versus a male football match, you can feel the difference. Like, it's a very community vibe, it's less tribal and a bit less aggressive. You see a lot more families there. You see also a lot more, like, younger generations there. The type of content that comes off the back is really about that storytelling versus just being about that kind of short, sharp content. You know, there's really interesting opportunities through streaming, because at the moment quite a lot of the streamers have dropped their paid walls, so you've got an opportunity to be reaching them there in a way that's different from men. So it's just fundamentally different. So you can't approach male and female sport as a marketeer in the same way. It would make life easier if you could, but you just can't. And then you can't measure it in the same way either.
You've obviously, you know, you've got a very big role to play within this. You mentioned the Gold Cup yesterday, etc. What is the biggest lesson you have learned personally on the journey that you've been on? If people are entering this sort of space, what would you tell them from your perspective?
I think you can. It's going to sound very strange, but you can't plan for what can happen in a way. Like, you do all these sessions where you sort of plan for every eventuality might happen, and actually things can sometimes just spring themselves on you, and you've got to have a sense of motivation and energy to kind of push through those moments and react, and always be kind of have this creative curiosity about you to be able to react. So, for example, things last night on the Gold Cup weren't necessarily going as I needed them to go. But you've just got to pivot and you've got to just keep going. We've had instances where we've had footballers threaten to not turn up on set 30 minutes before they're meant to be there. But your set's already set up, your extras are there, your body doubles are there, they're already doing their thing. And you've got to just pivot and be really quick to plan, because sport has so much predictability about it, but it also has so much unpredictability about it, and you've got to be able to ride that.
Choose your footballers carefully might be another life lesson.
Yeah, that as well.
Without asking too many sort of trade secrets, what's next? Where would you like to take this in the next 6, 12, 24 months?
I mean, for Unilever specifically, the next 6 to 12 months is really busy. We've got the FIFA Men's World Cup next year, quickly followed by the FIFA Women's World Cup the following year. And then amongst that, we have our Premier League partnerships with Chelsea and Manchester City. We've got other tournaments going on, like the UEFA Women's Championships. We've got the Rugby World Cup, both male and female. It's really busy. Where we want to go in the future, I'd like to see us start to break out of football. It's not to say we won't stay in football, but there's so many other properties out there. There's so many other ways to bring to life sport that I'd like us to sort of start experimenting there. I mean, I personally just want to go to the Olympics, because that for me is like a sport pick-a-mix. But unfortunately, Procter & Gamble are there, and so we can't really go there. But that's a personal thing.
Personal thing. Watch this space. And when you talk about the plans that you have, what does success look like as you roll that out?
For sure, specifically, we want to be the number one brand associated with the FIFA Men's World Cup. I know that's massive when you've got the absolute giants of Nike and Adidas and Coca-Cola there, but if we don't aim high, we might as well just not bother. So that, for us, is success, to be up there with those guys.
And what does that actually look like in terms of how you activate to get to that position?
You would see us, essentially.
You would see.
It's really borrowing the mental availability of fans. Fans aren't there for brands. Fans are there to watch football. And they are very happy if you're there, if you bring value to their experience. But if you don't, they don't even notice you. So for us to be noticed by them means that we hopefully should have brought some value to the experience.
Yeah.
So.
Can I ask you just a question around, obviously you're very focused in what happens on the pitch, and the athletes and the stars and the moment. Have you considered the sort of the outer layer, which is the content creators, podcasters, the peripheral, where there seems to be a lot of noise and a huge amount of engagement? Is that an area you have stepped into, or does that take you away from what you're trying to do with Elite Meets Elite?
No, I mean, to be honest, more of our attention's off the pitch, because our attention is mainly on the fans, and they're not on the pitch. So, we have sort of this thing where we say on the pitch, off the pitch, beyond the pitch, which is more grassroots. But so much of our focus will be off the pitch, because there's only so much you can really do on the pitch. You've got your LEDs, you've got your ambassadors, you've got your media backdrop, but actually the fun is off the pitch. That's really where you can create experiences, have a bit of fun, interact with creators and podcasters and broadcasters as well. That's really where you get to have all the exciting stuff. The pitch is actually quite limited, but it's really necessary in order to get that brand exposure.
Okay, fascinating. And just to sort of sum up, really, are you loving what you do? Do you find the journey, the challenges, do you find that a hugely rewarding space in which to operate?
Definitely. I think sports is so exciting. I mean, I've loved sports since the day I was born. And so the fact that I get to do this as my job is pretty great. I often say to people, I've probably got the best job in Unilever. But it's really exciting. It's really fast-paced. It's dynamic. It changes constantly. And for me personally, that's the kind of thing I need. I can't have things that just tick over.
Yeah.
But I think because sports is just so fundamentally exciting, and as I say, people love and are passionate about it, it just means that you have the ability to be engaging in something where they actually love and are passionate about it versus just, Tesco.
Brilliant. Love the personal insight, love the macro insight as well, and that's been very, very interesting indeed. Ladies and gents, will you give an enormous round of applause to Emily Heath, Director of Engagement, Rexona and Shaw. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.